Hello, everyone. Thanks a lot for joining this breakout room. My name is Claudio Dedicato. I'm the head of the Supply Chain Planning and Optimization Unit at WFP, and I'm joined here by Eric Combet, who is the Scout Project Lead. Please introduce yourself, Eric.
Hi, well, if you can hear me, I'm Eric Combet. I'm project lead of the Scale project in the supply chain planning and optimization team.
Thank you for being here. So we just have prepared three very brief slides to explain what the Scout project is, and then we'll leave the remaining 10, 12 minutes of the presentation for questions, answers, and also to address any specific points related to the Scout project. So let me just share the presentation, which okay. Just a second now. Okay. I think you can see the screen, right? So I'm not sure I'm going to be able to see any hands up. So if so, please feel free to directly jump in and ask your question. We start with the challenge and the background of the Scout project. WFP, as I was saying in the pitch, operates one of the most complex supply chains in the world. We have around 3 or more million metric tons of food to be delivered every year. We have 80 plus countries to be served, some of them in the most inaccessible areas or facing seasonal access constraints, as happens in South Sudan, for example, in Afghanistan. We have thousands of suppliers across the boards and thousands of ports, routes, and storage facilities. And on top of these, we have high fluctuations in the prices of the commodities, in the lead times for the transport. And also we need to take into consideration many sourcing constraints and constraints set by the donors for when giving the contributions to WFP. All of these is, let's say, made further complex by an increasing unpredictability of the operating environment. This unpredictability can be geopolitical, can be climatic, can be economic, which is continually disrupting global supply chains. COVID was one of the latest, but it's not the only one by far. And it makes WFP needs and funding very uncertain, which means that we have two main challenges here. First of all, we need to be able to forecast the demand that will come from our country operations, and it becomes much more complex in the context that I was mentioning. And because of the volatility that we need to cope with, we need to provide and produce plans that consider many possible scenarios, many possible risks, and allow us to react fast to disruptions. Now, if we think of all these constraints and all these uncertainties, there are virtually infinite different ways to plan for the supply chain. We had made a simulation and considering the suppliers, the ports, the warehouses, as I mentioned, there's around 1 septillion combinations of these various origins and destinations of food, which is equivalent to more than the number of stars in the observable universe, right? And in this 1 septillion combination, we need to identify the one that allows WFP to achieve the programmatic objectives and minimize cost. Because the difference between all these potentially infinite plans can be measured in number of people that are getting the food on time and in the right quantity or not, and sometimes millions of dollars difference to achieve the results. A plan can have, you can get one thing wrong in your plan, and you can have additional cost due to storage or commodities expiring, etc. Or you can get another number wrong and you can just not have enough food arriving where it's intended to be. Now, the solution that we use is Scout. We developed a state-of-the-art supply chain planning optimization solution. We didn't do it all alone. We also worked in collaboration with the University of Amsterdam, with MIT, and the Aalto University in Helsinki. What Scout does in a couple of points, it forecasts the needs by country offices and most importantly, the funded needs, because WFP operations are voluntary funded, so it's much more difficult to forecast what amount of food they will be able to buy with contributions, and simulates WFP supply chain flows through the network. Scout allows us to test these scenarios and uses these advanced AI methods and optimization solutions to find the most cost-effective supply plan to deliver the food timely, in the right quantity, where it's needed, and allowing an optimal inventory strategy that allows us to absorb these fluctuations. The first version of Scout has already resulted in around $2 million savings in Western Africa since 2024, and it allowed us to be more reactive to changes in the operating environment. Now, the phase two of the project, and that's the last slide, which is the one that we're focusing on now, is to scale up the approach that has brought tangible benefits in Western Africa to all the regions where WFP operates. And solution, technology is not always the only solution. It needs to come with improved supply chain planning processes that involve key decision makers and allow us to maximize the efficiency leveraged by Scout. The second step is to enhance the solution on key aspects. We're focusing on better forecasting demand with machine learning methods, which have already shown a potential to increase our forecast accuracy by some 20%. And then we're focusing on risk assessment and planning under uncertainties. So considering the various trade-off between the financial risk that is associated to preposition more inventory and the operational risk of not being able to serve beneficiaries in different scenarios. These two objectives are conflicting and they need to be balanced in order to achieve the best possible outcome. And another area of focus is also to include sustainability aspects as part of the planning objectives and to leverage decision making. With this scale up, the Scout is expected to help us save around $50 million annually, which is equivalent to around 60 million additional meals to beneficiaries. And then the third part, which we'll focus on from 2026 onward, is to make Scout the model open source so that it can be easily configurable and adapt to other UN organizations, NGOs, governments, and partners, and bring the benefits beyond WFP. And this would allow faster adoption across the broader humanitarian community to bring everybody at par with state-of-the-art practices for supply chain planning. With this, I'll end here. You also have a couple of contacts here if you want to reach out, but I'll open the floor for questions. Over.